This podcast is a proud member of Pod Nation Media Network. Are you tired of the coffee crash? Still jittery an hour after your morning cup of coffee? Listen, I used to drink 5, 6, 7 cups a day to just keep going. The anxiety, the stomach pains, the afternoon crash, it was brutal. Then I discovered Rise Coffee, and everything changed. Rise has less than half the caffeine as regular coffee, but here's the magic. It contains 6 organic mushrooms, including cordyceps, lion's mane, and others that naturally sustain your energy without the jitters or crash. We're talking sharper focus, immune support, better gut health, and calm, sustained energy that lasts all day. Plus, it's organic, vegan, and has 0 added sugars. Unlike other mushroom coffees, Rise is USA grown in California. A full spectrum of mushrooms per serving that actually works. Here at Pod Nation, we only partner with brands we actually believe in. And Rise Coffee is the real deal. Head to risesuperfoods.com and use promo code PODNA15 for 15% off your order. That's PODNA 15 for 15% off. Ditch the crash. Fuel your day the right way with Rise Coffee.
I see ghosts, specters all around me, living in stock, blazing the dark. One by one, pictures gather around me. Where those moonflowers used to rust no more. Specters gather around here, living in stock, blazing the dark. Night by night, stare into the black where moonflowers used to grow.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. Yes, you get to see me, your faithful host, Jeremy, twice in one day. I know, you're blessed. I get it. But once again, this is the show where I try to make the world seem a little more normal. Will we accomplish this tonight? Finally. Maybe slightly. Maybe. I always say that, then we always end up going down a wormhole, and it is not true. But, you get what you get. Live with it. My guest tonight, though, on this quest, as always, I am joined by Susannah Rose Stokes, a energy priestess and embodied consciousness guide, which I freaking love both those terms, and we're gonna get into all that in a little bit. Energy priestess, I fucking love it. But we're gonna get into all that in a little bit. How you doing tonight, Susannah?
Oh my gosh, Jeremy. Well, your intro is just giving me life over here. So fantastic. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Always down to have someone in the spiritual aspect of life, and that leads me to my first question. I always like to ask, what brought you down the path to this spiritual life you're living now? What made you want to walk down that path instead of being one of the mundane, boring people?
What made me want to step into the new normal?
Exactly.
Woohoo! I'm here. I am here brought to you by war because I joined the military when I was 18, went to the Naval Academy, and then became an officer in the Marine Corps, and went to war a couple of times in Afghanistan, and that changed me in a really, really, really deep way. And it caused me to question everything I knew and everything I'd grown up in. So that's the short answer of that.
Well, first things first, of course, thank you for your service. Always I gotta throw that in there. And damn, I guess, see, I was never the type that ever had ambitions of being in the military ever. So it always kind of amazes me. I'm just like, I see a person, I'm like, why? Why would you want to join the military? I mean, no offense to anybody who would join the military, of course. I respect all those who serve, but
I think it's a great question. I think it's a wonderful question. And the more I look back on it after my time in, I also have moments where I'm like, why? Why would you ever do that? But everybody has their own reasons for it. There's a lot of people who will go in for financial reasons because it's a steady, very reliable, grounded job that the government is going to pay you for. As long as you get through the training, you can do it. For me, it was a legacy type of thing. It was a it was approving of myself and my family system because my father was a Marine, my older brother was a Marine. Every man in my family was affiliated with the military at one point or another. So I was like, well, why can't the girls do it too? And that was my why. That was my initial why.
Okay, I can actually that why I can respect. I mean, that's I get that. That makes sense to me. Like it's exactly like you had something you wanted to prove, which who can't respect that? See, it's the training part that kills me. I never could have got through the training. I would have, oh God, I would have been like freaking. I would have been like watching Cartman try to do army training. Like literally, it would have been running the freaking, just running like, yeah, seriously, going home. No, like no, I just
like I'm done with this shit. I'm out.
It would have been a fast departure.
Yeah. I mean, and there are people who join the military and are like that, right? Like they join and then they realize very quickly, like this is not the place for them. I think on a spiritual, that was like my human why. My spiritual why was I've been a warrior in many lifetimes. I've been a warrior over and over and over again, whether it was to prove myself or to devote myself entirely to a higher cause. There is something very spiritual about joining the military because you are in devotion to this bigger thing, which in some ways feels like your family. It feels like the country. It feels like whatever the mission is at hand. And so there's something really big about it. But because right now we don't have a lot of those systems in our like religious structures or in other ways to like really find your purpose, the military is one of those outlets that allows you to do that. But you do have to get through a whole lot of BS in order to really, land.
We've all seen Major Pain. It's
which is so good. It's such a good movie.
Oh God, I mean, I don't know. I know I wouldn't get through it. I know I wouldn't. People may out there be saying, Jeremy, you're stronger than you think. No, I know exactly how strong I am, and I wouldn't have got through it. Don't tell me I'm stronger than that thing. I know I wouldn't have got through it.
Wanting to. If you don't want to, if you don't have like the real desire to do it, then there's absolutely no point in putting yourself in that kind of physical and emotional pain.
And plus, I mean, I was in that age, 9/11 happened when you're in middle school. And to some people in my age group, that might have been like a huge calling, like, I need to go defend my country. I got to watch 7 or 8 years of that before I was even of age to join the military. And I watched it literally be like, this many soldiers died in Iraq. This many died in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Why would I want to go there? Tell me, please, somebody. Like, why am I signing myself up for this? I mean, it's not like a video game. That's something I knew from the beginning. It's not like the video games or movies portray it to be always. So it's I could talk about that all day, but I'm not going to stay on that topic because that's not why we're here. But yes, you're right. Religion structures in this country/world are freaking horrible. I mean, in the East they're a little better. They're a little better in the East, but
a little better.
In the West they're just deplorable. And well, okay, I'm not gonna say all of them because there are some small town churches that do do the good thing, and I ain't gonna hate on that because everybody needs that in this world. So
yes, but I think that there is a lack of structure that allows you to really step into your purpose. And I remember being young and actually like questioning whether I was going to go into the Marine Corps or the Peace Corps. And that seems so opposite, right? Like the polarity is so huge. Yep. People are like, how could you have wanted both of those? And I realized that I've always been a hippie at heart. Like, obviously I'm an energy priestess now. Like I'm a very different soul than the one that kind of entered into the military. But it was that I had to go into, I really needed for this lifetime, I really needed to go into the depths of seeing the crap. And you were able to see it on the news and be like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. but I had to like physically go there and be on the ground, boots on the ground, like actually see it for myself to be like, oh yeah, this shit doesn't work. This does not work. And it took me, it took me a good while to really understand how not effective the military and our uh, war system is, and then to find my purpose through that.
Yeah, and that, I mean, yeah, it's you gotta the process works sometimes, and you gotta go through hell sometimes to find where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all go through hell in some way or form, but that's a real fucking hell. I ain't gonna kid. That's a real hell. That ain't dealing with bullying in college or dealing with divorce. That's real hell. Like that's your life's in the line hell. So yeah, I mean but let's actually talk about that for a moment, because the transformation is what I'm interested in. How you went from being, because I mean I'm actually seeing the picture in my head of you in the Marine Corps and you now, and I'm seeing two completely different pictures. Even though I didn't know you before tonight. I didn't know you before tonight, but I could see it. I can almost see it, and it's kind of like just an image sitting there now. And so, how did that transformation happen? How did the chrysalis break open for the butterfly that is today?
Oh, I love that you just use that term, because our whole company is Metamorphosis and our logo is the butterfly, and one of our retreats is called Cracking the Chrysalis. So perfect.
Folks, I knew only the name of the company beforehand. I did not know any of the rest of that. So that was an unplanned for segue, but I love that synchronicity. Things work. Synchronicity. Yes. But so yeah, how did the transformation happen? How did
war crack my chrysalis? I mean, I grew up in the South, and so my grandfather was a bishop in the Methodist Church. Everybody in my father's family were like spiritual leaders, spiritual pastors, bishops, deacons, all those things. And so, and also academics, they were like philosophers. So as I came out from war, I was like, oh yeah, this doesn't work. There's got to be something else. And I completely lost all my faith in any kind of higher power, anything beyond myself. I went into this like sort of lonely state. I would just call it's like deep depression. I went into like a really deep depression where I felt completely separated from everything. And that left me in this state of searching and realizing that it was so painful to stay there that I had to find something different. Like I had to find something else bigger to believe in. So I joined the tech industry, went to San Francisco, thought I was going to find my purpose in my job. And what I ultimately found was LSD instead. I mean, I found a job too, but I found this awakening moment with the very first time I sat with LSD that reconnected me to remembering that I'm like part of nature, basically. And that when I started to see the trees breathe around me, and they were breathing in sync with my body, and I started to feel that total interconnection, I was like, oh, this is what I used to know when I was growing up on the farm that I grew up on. Like, this is what I experienced every single day. And I started to find like God in nature and something bigger. The cutest. Oh, hi, little one. So
yes, folks, the podcast mascot Snickers is back.
Adorable! Oh my gosh, again. Bunny. Are you kidding me?
Yes,
so cute.
My daughter likes to enforce the mascot of the podcast, but
we're bringing the animals in as I'm talking about growing up on the farm, because actually animals were like my first teachers. Like we had a pack of dogs that I would sleep with, I would do everything with, and there was something about connecting with animals and nature that just brought me back to God. But then it also started to really deconstruct my whole reality of everything that I thought was important. And I lost myself for a period of time. And I would say it was in that losing that I found myself. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, as typically goes, basically, you have to lose
Yeah,
yourself
as one
to
does.
find yourself. I mean, you can't find something that isn't lost. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I get you can in a way, but in a way, it's always lost. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the way it goes. And so what this business you mentioned, like, I'm kind of interested in how the transformation works business wise as well,
Yeah.
because I am a business minded person.
Yes. So as I first explored psychedelics, and by the way, like coming out of the military, I had all these ideas of what psychedelics were. They were dangerous. I was totally programmed by the more matrix system, our normal system that told you that mushrooms and LSD and all these things are will bond to your DNA and they'll find them 20 years after you're dead. And now I'm like, you know what? I hope they bond to my DNA. I hope they recalibrate me to that depth, because what I started to realize after sitting in several sacred ceremonies in that first LSD journey, the medicine was like, hey, Susannah, these medicines are not just for recreation. And there's a lot of beauty in recreation and play and being able to just, you know, can feel that connection to nature and to your friends and to each other and to dance and to sing and all of those. And there's real healing properties to these medicines. So at the same time that I was exploring plant medicine, my sister was going through a process of trying to kill herself. She was really in a dark place and had a sexual trauma that led to all sorts of, you know, psychiatric things that led to dozens and dozens of medications that she was prescribed. And I was like, there's got to be something better than that. And so I started to go through my own process of healing from post trauma and other things. And I sat in several sacred medicine journeys, and all the medicines were like, Susannah, you do this work. Like, this is what you do. You do this for a living. You serve this. And because I had allowed myself to start to deconstruct my whole reality, I asked the question, is my job really supposed to be like a chief of staff in a tech company? Is that really what I'm here to do? And to really get clear on what is authentic to me and how do I block out all the noise and all the other expectations from everybody else. And I think this is like what you know, speaking to the paranormal, I really had to unlock my mind to the idea of the paranormal. I had to get all the conditioning, all the programming away to be able to adjust myself for living my life in the paranormal. And what that ultimately did was lead me to we had our first retreat with a soul sister who's now my business partner, and we brought in another woman who's our third business partner, and Jenna Strike and Ashley Gates. And we had our first retreat, and after that retreat, it was just supposed to be one event. We were going to do one event and that was it. And people were so changed by working with the psilocybin medicine and the technique and the ways that we worked that people were like, well, you have to keep doing this. This is way bigger than just one retreat. And that's where Metamorphosis was born. Yeah.
So, well, first things first, what does the company provide in these retreats? Like, what does it basically consist of?
Yeah. So we have two organizations, and that's by design, because one is Metamorphosis Ventures, which provides all the coaching and the integration and the integration support for the ceremonies. And then the ceremonies themselves are held through House of Embodied Metamorphosis, which is a 508c1a, which is a faith-based organization, essentially a church. And all churches are 508c1as. And that, thank you, founding fathers, for the separation of church and state, because it's given us this ability in this time to establish entheogenic churches that can work with sacred sacrament and be federally protected. So that's what we're doing through House of Embodied. And essentially, we have different programs, but you can do a retreat with us, which is an 8-week program. And there's like a 4 or 5 day on-site retreat where we prepare you through online support. You get a coach, you get preparation, content and resources, and also support from our team. And then you come on site and we do a retreat and a ceremony with you in a group setting, in a small group setting. We usually have 12 people or less. And then on the back end, we do integration work with you to help you fully integrate your experience, which is something that we've seen has not been held super well in the psychedelic space. There's a lot of facilitators out there who may not have the time or the energy, the resources to really support people in their integration. So we've set up a whole system of resources that allows people to feel held. And then on the, like, if you want to do, for example, virtual work, we also offer microdosing programs where you can do coaching work with our team, and we'll coach you through a 3-month microdosing protocol with the medicine that we work with, which is called Trinity. And it's psilocybin based, but in some of our containers, we also work with some heart opening synthetic medicines that are based in sassafras and saffrol. So MDA, MDMA, and are blended with some really beautiful heart-centered plants like kanna. And honestly, the things that happen in these containers, whether it's like just the virtual coaching and the microdosing or the on-site retreats that we do, Jeremy, and we also have recorded courses and things like that. Like you can order a sacrament from us and do a microdosing protocol on your own if you want. But the things that we see change in my world, at least at the beginning, are paranormal. Like it is freaking miracles happen in these containers. And we watch people completely end addictions. We watch them completely change their lives and move 180 degrees into a new direction. I got to witness my sister, after doing a private ceremony with her, stop trying to kill herself immediately after that ceremony and say, I'm choosing life. And a lot of this has to do with clearing work, which the Catholic Church would call exorcisms. But we do a lot of that kind of work where we clear things from the body that have been holding people back or holding people in like a karmic loop, a karmic pattern for decades or even lifetimes. And so, yeah, that's what I get to do on a daily basis is just watch people transform their lives, which is awesome.
Well, it sounds incredible. I mean, it really does. That work itself is just amazing. And anything in the spiritual realm like this, I love it. I freaking love it because it's helping people in ways that traditional medicine can't, and traditional psychological medicine really can't. Right. And once things like this become a little more socially accepted, it definitely, I think the world will change for the better. But that's part of the mass spiritual awakening we're heading towards eventually. And I don't, no one really can tell when exactly it's going to happen, but we're getting closer, I've been told, and I kind of agree. We are getting closer. It's just taking its sweet time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how deep we want to get, but there's part of the reason I started this organization is because I carry a prophecy that speaks to that speaks exactly to that awakening that we're going through. And it came to me when I was down in the jungles of Peru, deep in the jungle. I was in a little bungalow. I was drinking ayahuasca for 8 days straight, basically, and just completely clearing my system of everything that I had built up over the military and childhood and relationships, divorce, all of that. And I sat with her, and even after my very first session, I had no no like visuals or anything. She really wasn't like coming into my body in a big way. And then the ceremony ended and they were like, okay, you can go back to your bungalows and like go to sleep. And so I go back and ayahuasca's like, hi. And she's like all vibrant and bright. And there's all the visuals that are coming into my psyche. And it was during that moment that all of my guides from some of my past soul experiences, actually my soul origin from Andromeda, from Mintaka, from these other planets that I had lived on, came through, and they told me of this prophecy called Lakutu. And Lakutu is very similar to a lot of prophecies we've heard even in Revelation and in like Mayan prophecy, Incan prophecy, but they speak of this time when we will establish like a utopia on the planet. We will come into balance, we'll come into peace, right? We'll experience world peace. And like you said, there's this grand spiritual awakening. And what I've been told is that it's happening right now. We're essentially the shift of Pluto into Aquarius is signaling this shift from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. And that is the transition into the overall golden era or the golden age. So that has been really powerful for me and has given me a lot of hope, because for many years I had like a hope in society that people were like, why are you so positive about everything? And I was like, I don't think I really know why. And once this prophecy was like reactivated in my DNA, I remembered why. It's because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help sort of lead that shift in some ways and help people remember what they're here to do as well in their purpose.
And I'll tell you the why. The why is because you have to stay positive in this world. You have to. If you get negative for a second, it tears you apart and it makes you want to do stupid shit sometimes. Not always. Sometimes it just puts you in a downer. You become freaking goddamn. You become Charlie Brown with a little cloud over his head.
Yes.
But and it's just, I mean, you gotta be positive in this world. I mean, that's why you shouldn't watch the news. It took me many years to figure it out, but you shouldn't watch the news. It's all going to garbage and it's going to make you negative because that's the way they program it.
Oh, I gave up news when 2020 hit. I was like, we are done. This is not news anymore. This is, it's, propaganda. It's spreading fear. And I'm like, one of the ways that I do stay positive while working with things like this prophecy that I carry and building what I would call like New Earth organizations, right? These are organizations that have the hope, that hold the hope for our humanity. I have to put myself in a little bit of a bubble away from a lot of the fear mongering that goes on in the news cycles, in media. I mean, I it's even hard to find TV shows or things like that to watch, because as I elevate in these ways and I try to create peace in my world, I watch all the content that we have out there, and there's so much of it that is not based in hope and faith and trust. So yeah, it's a concerted, intentional effort to remain hopeful and faithful.
It is. I mean, it's funny because I'm not a faith-based man at all. I haven't been for a long time because, like you, I lost my religion many moons ago, and so I mean, but I still have the faith that things will work out okay. I don't know what the hell is going to do it, what's controlling it. I don't care really to a degree, but I'm not going to think it's a big white guy with a beard. I don't know. I don't know. I don't particularly think so. I mean, the God from South Park, I kind of picture that a little more, but kind of can. But I just actually watched that episode last night, and I kind of like, I haven't seen this in a long time, but this is pretty accurate. I'm like that. I'm like, let's go with the platypus monkey with the lizard tail and lizard tongue. I'm going with that. That works.
Well,
But
Jeremy, like this is why at Metamorphosis we teach a decentralized spirituality. So we're super big on what does it look like to to allow everyone in a community who can support each other, bring them all together, but to allow each of them to have their own process of connecting to something bigger, right? What your universal creator God thing is looks very different from mine and from the person next to you. And I think that that is exactly what we need, because we're all, if you imagine us all as this disco ball, one of my favorite metaphors, if every single person's perspective is one of the little mirrors on a disco ball, but the truth is somewhere in the middle, that's great, because I can see from this angle, you can see from this angle, another person can see from this angle. So we believe in decentralized spirituality. And the second thing is we believe in the path of independent initiation, which means that you get to design your path of awakening, of spiritual progress, of what it looks like to you to grow as a human. And everyone's path is going to look a little different. And this is one of the things that we have had trouble with in the faith community, in especially in the past 100 years, is cults rising up and saying we are the authority on your whole life, and you can't go to any other teacher or any other system because it'll contradict this. And I just think that's total crap. We want you to learn from as many different teachers as you want to, and to have your own path of initiation into whatever version of spiritual awakening you want, because your lifetime is different from mine.
exactly, everybody has their own path they have to follow. You
Yeah.
can't just follow. It's not a manual written down where you could just go step by step. It's just not. I mean, it's not that kind of just situation.
Nope.
It's everybody has to find their own way. I mean, you have to build your own path basically most of the time. You can't just walk it. Well, I mean, if you're brought up rich, then maybe you can just walk it. But you have to build it most of the time, and you have to find the right things to put together. It's basically like one of those cobblestone types of sidewalks that has no pattern to it. It's just wherever rocks they found, and it's kind of the right way to describe the path that
I like
most
that.
people have to follow.
Yeah.
So, and you were, I mean, you're nowhere near the first person that goes around works with psilocybin or works with microdosing. I've talked to a few others like that, and it's these conversations are always deep and good. I mean, that's why I love about them. They're always. So let me ask you this: does the prophecy you were mentioning earlier mention a time frame at all? Or,
Mm.
I mean, that's usually the question people want to know the answer to: is there a time frame for this? Or like, are we ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the prophecy specifically that I carry and work with speaks more of the how and the what. It doesn't
Yeah.
speak as much of the when, but if I align it with other prophecies, because it also, every time I receive it, it's like, look to other prophecies that already exist for other information. So if you look at Revelation and even like I love the Mayan prophecies, because 2012 was actually a very pivotal year that started to kind of unravel things. And while there wasn't this massive earth shift, we did experience some shifts in 2012 that are now manifesting, that manifested in 2020 and now in 2024. So what I see is that, and there's several
Bye,
other
Bella.
bits of research and people who speak about in the next 20 years, which aligns with Pluto going into Aquarius. So essentially, when Pluto shifts its orbit into a different zodiac, Pluto is the planet of transformation. It is the planet that's shifting us from one thing to another. And Pluto was in Pisces and it shifted over into Aquarius on January 20th of this year. So what I'm seeing is that moving into the golden age is going to take, I mean, it's going to take a lot longer. It's been, it's been happening over the last 150 years or so. And there were also prophecies that aligned us with 1985. That was a big pivotal year. But Pluto is the guide for how long it's going to take for this frequency that we're now living in. There's a whole new frequency that's arrived. And basically that 20-year period will end in 2044. So I would say that by 2044, we're going to see a massively different world that is driven by AI, that is more adjusted to the idea of diplomacy, and the old systems are going to start crumbling in that 20-year period. It's going to be a little rocky in this next 20 years, but then by the next 100 years, we'll see a whole new world arriving. And there are some people who will actually who will not experience that world. So part of it, I believe, is a new Earth that's arriving to the planet. And it's like another frequency, another dimension. But in order to get there, one has to clear themselves of binary thinking, of duality, of us and them, of othering, right? Everyone is a one being. And when we shift into that mindset, then and really that heart set, we're actually shifting from the brain mind into the heart mind. That's one of the characteristics of the new Earth. I think that in the next 100 years, our whole society will be at the place where people will be able to rise into the actual new Earth and start to populate it. But that may be beyond your and my lifetime, unless we figure out some really cool tools for activity.
I mean, I don't know. I was told by a hand reader once that the lines of my hand tell me I'm going to live a long, long life. So we'll see.
I'm planning to live to 118. That's my goal. So that's where I'm going. I want to be comfortable.
I want to live until the day my body no longer works, and then I would like my brain put into a robot. Just saying. Just saying.
That's cool. I like that idea.
I am destined to be Bending Rodriguez, but yeah,
that's awesome.
But I mean, 2044. I'm holding you to that. I'll be talking to you in 20. I'm talking in 20 years, like Susannah.
Whole different world. Yeah, come back to
Let's go. I will be 56 then. I better be fucking close to retirement. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But my kids will all be grown out of the house by then. So God, I hope so.
I think 2044 and after are going to be lighter times. I think the next 20 years are going to be difficult. Some of the other elements of the prophecy that I've learned are that we will be creating a frequency of santosha, which is essentially contentment. Santosha in Sanskrit is this frequency of contentment in which you are just satisfied with what you have and what is around you. Like there is no need for something more. And that is because a lot of that more energy is from a place of karmic incompletion, right? Like of like, I'm still working through some stuff. And there's also an element of cleansing karma. And in the Christian faith, they call it sin. I don't love the idea of sin.
Yeah.
That doesn't resonate as much with me. Karma resonates a little more with me because there's like a balancing. Karma is neither bad nor good. It just is. And there is a process now that we're learning both for metamorphosis and on a widespread scale, we're all learning how to cleanse our karma so that we can quite literally enter into a state of contentment and peace and exist like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't actually need anything more than what's happening. So I don't need to take from my neighbor. I don't need to have more land. I don't need to have more property. I don't need to own. And it'll shift the way that we operate in a really huge way.
I like that. I like that a lot. Santosha. I could dig it.
Yeah,
I
look
can
it
dig
up.
it, and
Yeah.
I probably am going to now. And I mean, it is what the world should be. I mean, but let's not forget there are always outside influences in these types of amazing things. And you mentioned Andromeda before, so I
Ted.
have to ask: Are is thou a starseed?
Yes, yes. That's where my soul originated from the Andromeda galaxy, which is a neighboring galaxy to this one. I actually don't know which planet because it's a little far away from my memory, but I do know that like the light language I speak is primarily Andromedan. Sometimes I speak one that's more Mintakan, but I've lived there. I started there. That's where I was implanted with the Lakutu prophecy, and that sort of was given to me. I worked with the Intergalactic Federation to help create the Intergalactic Federation and actually write some of the governing documents for that organization, which then allowed for Earth and the whole Earth experiment to happen, because this has been a grand experiment that's lasted many billions of years in order to create and hold a frequency of santosha and peace. This is sort of like the goal. Where we're going now in the next 100 years is the climax of the Earth experiment, and that's why there's so much movement on the planet right now to kind of get ready for that.
And who doesn't love a good climax? I mean, come on now. But
This is the orgasm. We're here.
it's been a long time coming, folks. But
We've been edging for a long time.
goddamn crafty space creatures and one less edge. But which kind of brings me to the question I was dying to ask. Do you believe that the extraterrestrials are influencing this to some degree? Do you believe that they are still involved with us?
Oh yeah, I mean, I talk to them regularly. They're part of my council. They're part of my guides. Um, the ones that we know closely on the planet right now are like the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, the Mintakans, those from Orion, um, all these ones that are very close by. These are in star systems that you can actually see in space. The Arcturians, and I see the Pleiadians all the time. They actually usually station like ships right above our retreats. We hold a lot of our retreats out at retreat centers that are farther out in the mountains, and we will always see these really cool lights that blink white, green, and red in this particular pattern. And then if you look really closely, they actually have kind of like those static electricity balls. You remember those in like science museums?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have like a spherical static electricity that goes around them, and they'll come in, 3 to 5 to 8 ships, and they'll station around our events, and they give us guidance, and they offer to us new technologies that we can work with in the energy space. And that's one of the reasons I call myself an energy priestess. I do a lot of like energetic surgery that is aided by extraterrestrials, Pleiadians, and they're very, very helpful. I mean, this idea that any extraterrestrial that we're engaging with in this solar system, in this universe, or even in the surrounding universes, that could be nefarious is not my experience. My experience is that all are in service to this Earth experiment, to what we call Earth School. And everybody is I kind of see it like they're all watching the Super Bowl, right? They're all like watching the Earth experiment and rooting us on, because it is such a profound thing for a planet to reach a state of peace and santosha that it means great hope for the rest of the universe and for the rest of those other planets and those other beings. And that's one of the reasons why Earth is so dense, while a lot of these other planets like the Pleiades and and even Orion, which went through a very deep and dark war many, many millions of years ago, they can't hold frequencies like this. They can't hold peace for that long because they're moving a lot faster, because a lot of them are light beings and light planets. So my experience is that extraterrestrials are totally on our side. They are absolutely helping us. And if you have questions, just reach out and you will be surprised at who comes into your consciousness and will assist you in whatever you have questions about.
Interesting. And we are friends of Arcturians on this show for sure. I mean, I actually didn't hear about them I never heard of them until I met a man who has written Dean Graves. He wrote a book called, you've heard of him? Yeah.
I've heard of him. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He actually just has a second appearance on the show a week or two ago. And because he just put out a new book, and I'm sorry, Dean, I can't remember the fucking name of it at this moment. But the Enigma of Consciousness, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that. But I gotta read his books. I really do. They seem amazing. The only one you mentioned that I never heard of is the Mintalkians, and that I'm always intrigued when I hear a new species, because that's like my fucking jam when I hear new species of extraterrestrials that are out there. But what do the Mintalkians? What do they look like? Like that's the thing. I mean, because I know what all the other ones look like.
Mintalkians look like mermaids. They're the closest thing to mermaids that we know of, because Mintaka was a planet that was completely just water. And so the entire planet was water. It was in Orion's belt, and it was actually destroyed during the Orion War, which is why a lot of us who lived on Mintaka are homesick a lot. We feel a lot of homesickness because we look up into the sky and we can see the light from Mintaka, but Mintaka, the planet, is no longer there because the light is just traveling to our planet, but the actual planet's no longer there. But the beings on Mintaka look like a bit reptilian fish, like fish people. So there was like an element of humanness, but not to the density that this planet had, because there was still all just water and animal life, plant life. I'm pretty convinced, I'm not positive about this, but I'm pretty convinced that dolphins came from Mintaka. And that's one of the reasons why they have some really brilliant technologies of echolocation, things like that, because they are sort of the direct descendants of some of the beings on Mintaka. But Mintaka was part of Orion, essentially. Mm-hmm.
Well, goodbye and thanks for all the fish. But
goodbye and thanks for all the fish. So long. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I heard of a species that people in the paranormal field tend to believe mermaids.
Mm-hmm.
What people saw as mermaids were actually an extraterrestrial species that just was some of them were staying on Earth. Yeah. And I mean, that would make sense for mermaids. It really would, because otherwise it's kind of hard. I mean, there's the whole Atlantis thing, but
yes, and Atlantis was not underwater when it existed. It became underwater. Like it sank to some extent, or the waters rose. But Atlantis, and there's a lot of really good information about Atlantis through Dolores Cannon, who I love. But essentially, Atlantis was also somewhat of a light being species, and they were some of the first beings that came to the planet and populated. But what happened there was we went through a period of time where it was too much light, and what we know right now is too much darkness. Right? We've been in the Piscean age, we've been in the Dark Ages for a good 5,000 years after we've established so much civilization, that we've been so in the body and so in the darkness of our crap that we think too much darkness is the only thing that could be too bad. But actually, Atlantis went the opposite direction, and there was too much light that caused those species to use other species as slaves, and they kind of elevated themselves to a place where they were godlike beings, and the planet couldn't hold it anymore because it was out of balance. So what we're learning now, and what the golden era is all about, is about balance. It's about balancing the polarities and bringing the masculine and feminine back into balance. It's about yin and yang. It's about understanding that even though there are polarities, staying in the binary thinking will ultimately end us. We have to come into the middle. Even Buddha teaches of the middle path, right? And I think that
Exactly.
is very wise.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And yeah, Atlantis, there's a lot of debate on still.
There is so
unfortunately.
much.
I've had a couple authors on who've written books about it, and
Mm.
it's it definitely wasn't in What Are Always. That's for sure. That's 100% for sure.
Yeah.
And I actually interviewed one author who thought he found where it was. Him and his partner swear they found where it was in the deserts of Egypt, or not Egypt, Africa. But
Love that.
uh,
I have
and
no idea where Atlantis actually is. I don't
they
know.
believe that was the main city, and that like there was a lot of
Yeah.
secondary kingdoms everywhere else in the world.
Yes. Yes.
But
Well, I mean, in Egypt, one of the reasons why Egypt is so present, and I actually personally, I work in the lineage of Isis Sophia. So I do work in a lineage that came from, sort of seeded by the Egyptians, which a lot of their wisdom came from Atlantis as well. But Isis was an Orion starseed, and that is known to have lived on, was known to have lived on Orion, and after the wars came to this planet to seed, consciousness and to raise it up. And that's where a lot of then lineages come from. She's sort of like the source, and then a lot of things were birthed from her.
yeah, you definitely work with a lot of different entities. That's for sure.
Yeah, I do.
Sounds
Been
good.
around for a while, so I'm like, bring in the whole team,
Yeah, a lot of people I talk to that's the way they are too. It's bringing the team. Like we want. Why have one when you can have multiple?
Why have
Just,
one?
Yeah,
You need like bring a whole team of beings in and let them be from all these different lineages, because they all exist. They're all real. And we're finally realizing that we don't have to just stick with one. It's not like Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, period. That's it. That's the only tool. That's the only being. That's the only prophet I'm going to believe in, because limiting yourself to just that one also causes you to not be able to see a lot of the other perspectives on the disco ball. So I've definitely found a lot of healing in this particular time, because the internet has now given us the ability to very quickly and easily remember and remind ourselves of all of these different deities that are being, the memory of them and the energy of them is being kept alive, but has been kept alive in different places. So now it's all being brought together into one collective consciousness through the internet, which is awesome.
It is. I mean, it's opened the world for a lot of things, good and bad, but a lot of good. So we'll focus on that. Let the other people focus on the negative. But
yes, definitely.
Oh, I wouldn't be doing my job on this show if I did not ask, in all your travels, whether it be the Middle East or Peru or any of these places, did you come across anything on the paranormal side, more earthbound, maybe? Though a lot of these things would be whether earthbound or not. But did you come across anything weird or strange in any of your travels?
I mean, the vortexes in Sedona are for sure paranormal, and you can feel it. I mean, you can feel how they shift the energy of the land, how they shift your energy. And it was actually through visiting some of those sacred sites and going to places like Machu Picchu, going to the pyramids of Giza, Um, even like more modern places like the Great Wall of China, they all have these abilities to help a person remember. So my experience of the paranormal through sacred sites is I will get visions or memories of my past lifetimes or even other experiences that don't belong to my soul that are stored at that place. So there's wisdom and packets of information that are stored at all of these sacred sites. And I finally realized, because I was like, I don't really go on vacation. I travel to spiritual sites to attune myself. So, and then I get these new downloads and this new information. Yes, I have fun along the way and I enjoy myself. But for example, I was just in Glastonbury, England, and then went to
Nice.
Provence, and I was doing a pilgrimage to attune to Mary Magdalene because I'm also I happen to be pregnant right now with a little baby boy, little king on
Oh,
yeah. And
congratulations.
thank you. And I was attuning him in the energy of Mary Magdalene, and going to Glastonbury was like that whole town is magic. And I went to the Chalice Well, which is a very sacred site that has a very high iron content. You can drink the water, and it's a incredibly healing water. Like mineralized water. You want to drink only small amounts of it at a time. And I had this super powerful past life regression of being what I might call like a Viking tribal king in more either German or it could have been England, but I think it was more like German area. And I had a full on experience just in meditation, no psychedelics, nothing. And then I traveled to the south of France, and we went to the grotto of Mary Magdalene, where she lived for 40 years, and she engaged with Christ. And that's a whole nother journey of a story. But I found this secret cave that's nearby that's called the Cave of the Eggs, Grotte d'Oeuf. And you have to find it. Like even the people there, when you ask them, they'll be like, it's over that way somewhere. Even the people who work there, because the cave is so mysterious that sometimes, even if you've been there many times, you can't find it again. It's amazing. And it looks like a yoni. It looks like the entrance to a woman's vagina, like a vulva. And you enter in, and suddenly it's freezing. And of course, we were there in July, so it was very hot outside, and it was probably 50 degrees, 40 degrees inside the cave, right inside the entrance. I had a full on download from Mary Magdalene. So I would say there are absolutely paranormal things all over this world. You just have to be open to them. And usually they will arrive to you through whatever sentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, whatever your special receiving power is. But you have to be open to it.
Oh, there you go, folks. There you go. Which will bring me to my final question tonight. One of my favorite ones for anybody in your type of spiritual line of work. What is the one piece of advice you would give to anybody in the world right now if they asked that if you had one thing to tell me that you think matters more than anything else in this world, what would you tell me?
In this very moment in my life, I would say if there is a place of darkness that you become aware of in yourself, go straight there. Go straight into the place of darkness. Go straight into the uncomfortable feeling. Go straight into the ruminating thought. Go straight into the anxiety or the depression, because what you will find through that on the other side is something so magical, is something so new normal, new earth, that it is your light Like your light is there. It rests right in the darkness, and you have to have the courage to do it.
Well, that right there is perfect. I love it. I really do. And that's some advice, folks. So take it. Freaking take it and run with it. You don't get this stuff for free often. Come on. But speaking of it, where can people find you if they want more than that? If they want us, they're like, oh, I like. They're like me. They're like, oh, I like that. I want to know more. Where can they find you, and where can they find everything that your companies offer?
Yeah, they can start at our website, which is metamorphosis.ventures. And you can always Google the word metamorphosis if it's a long word. Metamorphosis.ventures. And then on Instagram, we're at embodied metamorphosis. Embodied metamorphosis. And I personally am Susannah Roses on Instagram. So we'll add those in to the information here so you can, click it in the info. And we would love, love, love to host you in any of our events or in our programs. And we are here to help you open your mind, your heart, your body to something greater that allows you to really step into your purpose and what you're here to do in whatever way feels authentic to you.
Well, there you go. And of course, that website will be right in the podcast description for you listeners, just so you can click and go. Of course, I want to thank Susannah for coming on. It's been a fun freaking hour. We've learned a lot. We got to have a great, deep conversation. I love it. And you all know where you can find me by now. If you freaking don't, I swear to God, I'm going to shame you all to death. Because shame. But it's in the outro. Listen and you'll find it. God. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow, folks, for those watchers and replay watchers. I'll be back tomorrow with another great interview as always. And till then, have a good night. I have to get on another podcast. Thank you, Susannah, one last time. You can find me on Facebook as Jeremy Bryant, or you can find me as Uncensored, Unapologetic, and Untamed UQ Podcast Collective Facebook group. You can find me on Twitter and the Instagram as @JugglerBastard, or should I say X now. And you can find me on TikTok as @JugglerBastard Podcast. You can also find me on YouTube as Paranormal The New Normal. And you can also find me streaming on YouTube as Blind Knowledge Network, because all knowledge is blind until they admit Bigfoot exists.